What's happening, fiends and friends? It's J2K here. If you've watched all my past videos, you'll know I've been reviewing the Last Ronins. So this is all about the Last Ronin issue 3. So if you've not read the book, you probably don't want to watch this video because it's going to be full of spoilers. Let's get into the Last Ronin issue 3. Like I said, hopefully you've actually been reading the Last Ronins, so I'm not going to spoil anything for you. But if you haven't, we'll have a quick run up of who we've lost so far. We've only lost one person so far, which is Raph. So this book has got to take a wee bit further on since they lost Raph. We don't really get that feel of them getting over Raph dying. It's kind of jumped ahead a few years. The first page we open up, we see our main villain, which is Hiroto, sitting, turning into the leader of the Foot. Now this is really good to see. You actually see him sitting there with his sword, and if you actually look at the shadow, you'll see it's shaped like Shredder, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. I don't know if this means that he's maybe got to get the suit in the future, or if it's just pointing out that that's the type of mentality he's going to have, is that sort of evil Shredder villain. But yeah, it was pretty nice to see. It was beautifully drawn, just like the rest of the issue will be, and like the past issues have been. But it looked absolutely brilliant. That one little panel just meant so much, and you're opening the book and it just hits you in the face. And that's what I love about this book, is that every single panel is just hitting you slap bang in the face. Beautifully drawn and beautifully written. So you see him talking about how he wants to call it a peace treaty with the Turtles, or well, their clan, so to speak. Now later on you'll find out it might not just be the Turtles now, they might be a wee bit more offshoots, but I'll talk about that as that comes along. So we don't really know if that's actually going to happen or not. I mean, it's a very hard one to say. He's saying that they've lost people on both sides, which we do know because we lost Keirai, and obviously we've lost Raph. Fair enough, she's in a coma. Raph is gone from the looks of things, but it is believable that they might actually be looking for some sort of peace treaty. At that point, we then jump back into the future, and we see him just going mental. He calls out martial law. Now I really like this, because not only does he call out martial law, but you really see how a hold that he's got of the city. You already knew he did have a great hold of it, but to instantly say the words martial law and then lock that place down, you just see foot soldiers, the robot soldiers, just killing, well, not actually killing people, but you're not killing the city completely, just everyone getting forced behind doors. It's just so mental to see that's the power that he actually has. Because a full city to be locked down in seconds is just unreal. Granted, that is a comic book, so I know you're saying it's easily done in comics and movies and stuff, but I'd just like to see that we're finding out how much power he really has. He's not just scary like we were seen in the last issues, and I said in the last video. It really does have that power over the city as well as his own guys. But then we cut to the den where we've got the usual. You've got Mikey kind of having an argue with either his brothers or himself. We're still to find out if this is maybe just a manifest of his imagination due to him going through what he's went through, or if we generally are seeing the spirits of his brothers. It will be hard to tell. I'm sure we will find out later on, or they might just leave that as a question, which I really like. I do like the fact that we don't actually know if that is his imagination, if he's gone a wee bit loopy, which would be very understandable, or if we're seeing a more spiritual plane, which you could expect from a book like the Turtles that's heavily in martial arts and stuff. But yeah, it's really good. But what they're talking about is they're talking about Casey, the daughter, being very young, and Mikey kind of hits out sarcastically, well, does it remind you of anyone, being that they're the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? They were teenagers when this all happened to them. So I quite like that. But at the same time, you do see he's struggling with it, and he's not told any of them this is what they're seeing. So when she walks in the room to speak to him, she does get a bit like, is this a whole ninja thing? And he just hits back going, no, and then kind of takes a dig at her for sneaking up on him. Not saying that it's bad that she done that, but that doesn't make her a ninja. I think he's really want to point out to her himself. He's trying not to be nasty, but obviously this guy's full of aggression and hurt. But he's trying to point out to her that he doesn't think she's ready. And I really got that feel for just that one tiny little hit. But yeah, we sort of see her go on to get her crew and see where the city is at. And this is unreal, because at these points you're seeing the city's like got tanks, and you know, like the Foot are really coming strong. I guess it's just the fact that if there's no one to stop them, well, properly stop them, then the Foot would always prosper and they would become this absolute unstoppable force, which is obviously what Shredder wanted from the get-go. So it's really cool to see that he's actually envisioned that and used his power to actually become the owner of this city, Hiroto we're talking about here. At that point we go back to seeing April and Mikey, and they've got Fugitoid heads. Now this is really good because they're talking about the fact that that's all that is survived of Fugitoid, which kind of was a nice lead into the flashback. Now we get back into the flashback, the points that we're really there for as readers and Turtle fans, the part that we don't want to read but we do want to read, and that's the flashbacks to how this all happened. So we go back, and at this point, like I said, Raph is gone, so we've only got the 3 turtles left. We've got Splinter, we can see Casey kicking about with them, and this is a whole thing. We also see Splinter and Donnie talking about the peace treaty. So they're obviously about to head off to Japan to have this peace treaty. One of the big things I noticed they said in here, and I really liked it, subtle things like this to just make it so much better, is they say they're going to cut off the comms so they can't be tracked. Now that is pivotal to the rest of this next issue that's probably got to come out, and to the end of this story. So it's small things like that that really show how important this comic has been to the creators, and the fact that they really have put a lot of ideas in, even if it's just a small little comment that can go a long way, and this is definitely one of them. Another reason why I'm absolutely loving it, not just because I'm a turtle head, but because it's, to me, it's just a very well done comic. We're seeing Donnie, and I quite like the suit he's got on. It's kind of the same as what Splinter has, but his is a wee bit cooler because it's got the purple sort of colour down the side. If you read the flashbacks, you actually notice that Donnie doesn't really wear his bandana much, which is quite interesting. I don't know if that'll be explained maybe, but obviously it's good to see that they still tie in the fact that he's got the purple colours so we know who he is, even though it wouldn't be hard to suss out that there's 3 brothers wearing bandanas and one isn't. But I like that he still kept his purple in it, because it's definitely a part of them as the colour, you know. As much as it is a personality, it's also the colour they wear that I think it's just matches their personality, so it's good to see that they've not cut that out. At this point we see Casey wears Strike Team, as Splinter refers to them, but if you remember, I said earlier about Hiroto mentioning the clan. I think this is the clan that he's talking about. It's not just the Turtles, it's these guys as well. They're in their own factions and they're seen as the sort of strike team. It's not really explained well, but the one thing I did notice on my third reread was that they look a lot like the Purple Dragons, one of them even having the Purple Dragon tattoo. So it'd be good to find out if this is the case, if maybe the Purple Dragons have got together with Casey and this is how they've done it, or if maybe the Purple Dragons are kind of split up a bit. Do they still exist? We don't know. This is the best part of this, is it's leaving so much more open for us to figure out, and also for future books. And I'd really like to see that. I'd really like to see what maybe Casey and his strike team do. I'd really like a spin-off. That, not just being an absolutely huge Casey Jones fan, I think it'd be good to maybe see what they're doing while the other brothers are doing what they're doing. If maybe the Purple Dragons have got together with Casey and this is how they've done it, or if maybe the Purple Dragons are kind of split up a bit. Do they still exist? We don't know. This is the best part of this, is it's leaving so much more open for us to figure out, and also for future books. And I'd really like to see that. I'd really like to see what maybe Casey and his strike team do. I'd really like a spin-off. That, not just being an absolutely huge Casey Jones fan, I think it'd be good to maybe see what they're doing while the other brothers are doing what they're doing. So before we get into the big fight, because I'll probably just be infatuated with that, I want to cover a couple of other things I noticed. Casey and April seem to be married at this point, so we do know that a lot of time has passed, because if you remember when Raph dies, it wasn't in that, but if you do remember when Raph dies, it was an engagement party that they were going to have, so we know they were engaged and now they're married, so that it definitely shows that the future's jumped quite a bit. And also the fact that they don't seem too hung up on Raph. I'm not saying they've got over him, but they're not going through that hard grieving stage that you'd expect them to still be going through if it was early years of his death. At this point we have Baxter show up. Now apparently he's tracked them through Fugitoid, so he knows exactly where they are, and he turns up with a typical drone and robot army, but this time the robots look a lot like the Foot, so I'm assuming he's still highly connected with the Foot in this time. Don't know if he still is in the future, we've still to find out this stuff, but I think he more likely will be. Even though he's a smart guy, he has always been interconnected with the Foot, and they've always kind of had a foot on his neck, funnily enough. So he turns up with his, you've got the Bowser drones, you've also got the absolutely killer robots. I mean, they do kind of get took out, but they look really cool. I really like the idea of these Foot robots. They look really smart, especially artistically. they just suit that look with the colours and the way the robots have been done. Absolutely beautiful. They turn up, so boom, we've got Leo and Casey and the strike team just kicking ass trying to hold these guys off. Now this is, again, it's another beautiful fight scene. I love that they're really getting good fight scenes in here, and you actually see Leo fighting some of the foot, and you do see some blood splatters. So it is, I'm assuming there is also the fact that there's normal foot there as well. Just as they turn up, the people, by the way, I forgot to mention, is the people that were ringing the alarm bells or the strike team. Now that was also beautifully done, because you kind of see them all panicking to hit these buzzers and kind of get everyone to know that this is what's happening. But when you see the foot coming in, it's like overwhelming. It's like an army coming down on this area. Absolutely beautifully and brilliantly done. It really did get your heart going, because it straight away you know this is going to be a big fight. So you're seeing some absolutely amazing art. I'll try and pop some of it in. You see them just smashing people. I mean, just kicking ass. You've got robots, you've got the human foot, you've got just mayhem. There's nothing else to explain it but mayhem. And then we cut to the fact that as soon as he gets these Bowser drones out, everyone kind of knows like what we've got to do because of how many are there. And you've got Casey looking messed up, you've got blood coming down him, you've got Leo looking messed up. It just is unreal. They generally, you can tell they're lost for words, probably absolutely knackered at this point. It's just, I can't say enough how much I loved this fight scene. It was just so well done. We even got a Casey Pain 101 line, which anyone that's a Turtles fan and loves the old movie probably absolutely geeked out to that. I know I did. I just loved seeing it. We even had a cricket reference and everything. I just absolutely love it. But this is where it gets brutal, because you've got Baxter pretty much saying to Fugitoid, I'm here for you, and then when Fugitoid says it ain't happening, you've got Mikey trying to rush Fugitoid away, trying to get April away. At this point they know that the only choice here is to escape. They're not going to win this fight, and obviously Leo and Casey doing the typical Leo and Casey thing where Casey ain't going nowhere until the fight's done. Leo being the absolute leader, he's just making sure his guys get out. It's so heartfelt, it's unreal. But you kind of know that they know what's happening. They know it's game over.
Game over, man. It's game over.
At that point, that's when Baxter pretty much just says, well, if I can't have you, no one can. And then there's the explosion. And again, wow. Just wow to this art. This art is just unreal. So the last time we were after him, we seen his scythe go up in the water, and I said how beautiful that looked. And then now we've got this panel. Now, I've seen people say they might not be dead because of the way the panel was played out. I don't believe that's the way it is. I believe this panel has just been done to look beautiful, just like the scythe. Because if you're going to argue that, you could say that the gravity wouldn't, his scythe wouldn't go all the way up as he was falling down. So again, it's all about the art here. We're talking comic book territory. We kind of need to be a wee bit lenient with it, if you get what I mean. You just see the sword just sticking up, the Casey mask just hanging. It just, honestly, the building's destroyed and the stuff's just sitting there covered in blood, and just, it's so beautiful and heartfelt. It really did. It was one of these panels that even looking at it without words, it brought a tear to your eye. It has the Bleecker Street, so again, that's another nod to the movie. And later on, I believe Casey, the daughter, does walk by Bleecker Street when she's trying to get back to the den. So again, that's, if anyone that didn't know, that's where April O'Neil lived in the Turtles movie. Good, I like this. I like to see the fact, because there's a lot of references to the Mirage comics and then a couple of cartoon comic Easter eggs in there. I don't want to dive into the comic far too much because I want you guys to enjoy it, and I also want to leave some channels open for you guys to talk back. I've really enjoyed this comic, and I've really enjoyed doing these videos, mostly because it's good to hear what you guys are picking up on, and some of the stuff. There's even stuff that I don't know about that you guys have picked up on, and then I go back and read it and I'm like, you're right, that is so cool. I never realised that was a reference to an episode in the 2003 cartoon or whatever. It's absolutely brilliant, and I really like this book for that. But anyway, we're now getting into talking about the book again before I go off on another tangent. At this point, we're now going into another Eastman flashback of, well, flash forward from the flashback. This is where me explaining it can be quite confusing if you've not read it as well. So we've got a flash forward of the flashback, and that's, we've got April essentially getting over what happened. You can see her, she's got a missing leg now replaced, so she's got a new leg and a new arm, and as she says, a new addition. So this is it, we see her with a baby bump. Again, absolutely beautiful done. It's so well done because as a reader, you're reading this on high emotion. You've just, especially for myself, being a huge Casey fan, as I mentioned, I know a lot of Casey fans will probably the same. You're really upset to see Leo and Casey dead. You've got that tear in your eye, and then you see baby Casey sitting there right in front of you. Absolutely beautifully done. It's just such up and down. Like it generally makes your eyes water in both a happy and sad moment. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And if you're an overthinker like myself, or a parent like myself, you know how hard it was to read that, because not only have you just read that Casey's died, but you read that he has a daughter that will never meet. Even just talking about it now, you may or may not know because of my bad lighting, but my eyes are watering just now, because imagining your daughter growing up without your dad, especially in such a horrible situation. But anyway, this comic plays with your emotions. It's absolutely beautifully done. But we'll get back in it, because believe it or not, after all that information, this issue was still not done. This is the part that really gets me. Is I've been saying to people, I don't know how they're going to do this in 5 issues. How can they cover all this in 5 issues? Now we know they're talking about spin-off, prequels, and maybe a sequel. They will definitely need that to explain a lot more, but they're doing such a good job of fitting in so much in so little time, but it doesn't feel cram-packed, like to the point where you're overwhelmed. It's just beautifully done and just so well put together. So we're going to go back to the present at this point. You actually see daughter Casey in the future now going to get her crew. Now I kind of got mixed up there. It's just there's so much information to fit in. Earlier on I was saying you seen the tanks stuff. You didn't actually share that, then left. It wasn't until now that you seen the tanks. When she leaves up, so she goes up to get her crew. She finds a minuscule amount, I'm guessing her like close buddy of the crew, because it sounds like there's factions, but she's kicking about the streets. You see tanks flying about. This is where you see her on Bleecker Street, like I mentioned earlier. And it's unreal explaining how powerful the Foot and Hiroto have became in this point. It's unreal. It's mind-boggling. But they do mention that they've got more factions of their clan or crew or whatever you want to call it out there, so it'll be good to see if we maybe see some more familiar faces that'll be helping fight, and definitely hopefully perk our boy Mikey up a bit, which I understand he's not going to be the happy-go-lucky Mikey that we're used to due to everything that he's been through, but it would be good to maybe bring some heads back to him, like aren't just robot heads, because let's face it, it's great seeing a friend, but if they're just a head, it's not that great. At this point we then cut to our main villain again, Hiroto, and he's just kind of sitting, he's kind of got a wee bit of a Batman feel to him, sitting on a ledge, kneeling down, and he's looking over the city. This is when we start to see a wee bit more of him. So in the last issue we've seen how badass he was, like how he just would take out his own guys, especially if any of them even came close to him, he'd just kill them straight away. But this is where we're really starting to see how messed up this guy is, because he's referring to himself as a god. He's the god of this city. He doesn't just think he owns the city, he's the god, which is a huge thing to say. I mean, to believe that you are the Almighty is unreal, and I do believe that it's not just in this city. He probably feels this way all around. So it is very, very powerful to hear him say this. But then he starts to kind of go off on a tangent. But at this point, that's when you start to see the hurt little boy. He keeps talking about his mother so much, and how he's been a leader of this clan for so long. I don't think he ever really got a chance to grow up, and I think this is messing with his head. It really is, because he's starting to seem a bit almost schizophrenic. Like it's not got the telltales, but it almost is, because one minute he's a god and he's all powerful, and the next minute he's breaking down within himself. And it was really beautiful to see. It's almost given us a wee tiny bit, and I say wee tiny bit like that for a reason, because we still hate his guts, but we do feel a wee bit for him at this point. At this point you start to feel a wee bit of a human side to him, because so far you just kind of seen a badass, a god, and then now he's just broken. There's no other word for it than saying he's absolutely broken. And I like to see this because, again, I've said before, it's only 5 issues, so it's a lot of time to get us to feel how this villain actually is and how he is as a leader. But once we go to the craziness, that's when we start to hear about the next plan. So this is it's kind of talking us up to the next issue, because we're getting to the end here. And they're talking about how they need to go to Baxter's Island. I really love this idea. So again, I've always said that I love this sort of dystopian future where it's all crazy and mental. But it's good to hear that Baxter's got his own wee island, and I can't wait to see all the tech and all the cool stuff he's got. Again, there's ideas that are coming out. This have been beautiful, so I can imagine his ideas on this island, and the island itself will just be so crazy and so mental. It'll just be beautiful. I really am so excited just to see the island in itself, let alone to see where it takes us. And this is in the future, mind you, so we're talking about this future island. This isn't the blast for the past where we're going to see how the turtles died. This is here and now, so this is going to be really intense because we don't know what's going to happen when they get there. And they're a bit unsure. Well, sorry, I say they're a bit unsure. Our main man Mikey's unsure. At this point, April kind of calms Mikey down and says, I've got a little something for you. And I love that little something because it's anything but little. And as she takes him back to show him this, you see the old turtle van kind of sitting there. Well, something that looks kind of like the old turtle van. It's just enough. I love these little nods. But there it is, the turtle tank. The turtle tank, it just looks brilliant. I can't wait to see this. It looks absolutely massive. Kind of gives me a wee bit of the Tumbler feel, but bigger and bulkier, which I absolutely love. I can't wait to see this. So that's the end of that book, but what it's left us with is a great hang-on for so much for the next issue. The fact that they're going to go to Baxter's Island in the future. In the past, we've got Mikey, who said he was blown across the street and lost everyone. He says he's going to go to Japan because he can't get a hold of Donnie and Splinter because, again, like they said, they turned their comms down. So we're going to see him go off to Japan. I'm quite excited to see that. Him in the past in Japan. We know that's probably not going to end well because we know we're going to lose they two at some point, and I reckon this is the point where we're going to lose it. I really don't know how, and I'm dreading to see it just like the rest of you, but I'm also excited to see it. I did also forget to mention that when Mikey was blown away, that's when the Fugitoid head was found, and it was mentioned that Casey's strike team got it, so it's good to know that some of the strike team were still alive, and I'm guessing they're going to be a part of the faction that Casey's daughter now has and is in charge of. Look guys, that's the end of it. I hope I've covered as much of this as you guys wanted to. If I've missed anything out, feel free to message me and we can talk about it all day. Personally, I've absolutely loved these books. Not just being a Turtles fan, but just being a comic fan in general. That's hitting all the spots from sad, angry, happy. There's just so much going on. I've been intrigued every single issue, and I've never once felt like any of it's filler. It would be hard to make a 5-issue about such a big thing filler, but they definitely haven't. If anything, it's just cram-packed a million amazing stories, and I can't wait to read the rest. That means I will be doing an issue 4 review. I'll probably do an issue 5 review. I don't know if I'll put the full run review in the end of that, depending how far I go on with the issue 5, because I imagine there'll be a lot to talk about. But if I don't manage to cover it all, I will do a separate video where I just talk about the entire series as a whole. Anyway guys, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and check back for more comic goodness. We have some Pokemon unboxings, we have comic reviews, we have comic unboxings, we have the oddcasts, and as anyone that knows the club, we will have the draft for the new enrollment very shortly, because enrollment opens on the 1st of July for you guys to apply. I really look forward to seeing all these new hopefuls apply. You guys have been great. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all later.